The last time I came to Europe, I made a video that a lot of you guys might remember, titled Europe, where I pretty much sat down and had an honest talk about the things I'd gone through, the way I viewed myself, my goals for going to Europe, how happy I was to have achieved the things I achieved, even though I didn't complete all of them, and just general things along those lines. Today is going to be a bit different though. A bit unexpectedly, today's actually my last day in Europe, and a lot of you might be wondering why, because I was supposed to stay a few days extra, but it's just a combination of things. Homesickness being the main one, but also the fact that my league account got hacked tonight, and after seeing like the account get hacked and knowing that I'd wake up down like 300 LP, I just said, fuck it. So me and Jutu got 2 new flights, and we're just waiting at the airport now. It's 1 a.m. I slept 0 hours, and I'm just like chilling, just chilling. But anyways, the reason why I wanted to make this video was just to give you guys kind of like a late night talk about my realization, right? So a lot of you have been watching me for a while. You might know the part about me where it's like I always grind, right? Like I've always considered myself a grinder. I've always considered myself a guy that likes having goals, that likes working towards goals, and that likes achieving those goals. I've always said this. Whenever people would ask me for life advice, whenever people would ask me how to get over a breakup, whenever people would ask me, how do I deal with this problem or that problem, how do I deal with stress, with anxiety, it's always the same answer. Find a goal. Find a goal, work towards that goal, and every single day dedicate yourself fully towards that. And one day, if you do, then it'll pan out, it'll work out, and it'll just be worth it in the end, Something that you can always sit there and look forward to doing every morning, something that you can be proud that you have worked towards every night. A reason to keep going, if you will. Today it's going to be a bit different, because for the longest time, I've always thought that when you work towards something, you will end up feeling satisfied with what you've achieved. If you want to work towards being a doctor, then once you're a doctor, you'll be satisfied. If you want to work towards being a big businessman, then once you're a millionaire, you'll be satisfied. Things along these lines. But this isn't the case. Not at all, actually. When I was 50 viewers, I remember telling myself that if I only had 100 viewers, I'd be extremely happy. And then when I was 100 viewers, I remember telling myself the same about 200. When I was 200, I remember telling myself the same about 5. When I was 5, 1,000. When I was 1,000, 2,000, and so on, right? I remember sitting there telling myself when I'd hit diamond, I'd be happy. I remember sitting there and then afterwards saying, maybe I need masters. And then after masters, grandmaster, and then challenger. But it was really when I hit challenger EU this time that reality really started to set in. By reality, I don't mean like the reality of like the situation, right? Like I don't mean, I'm sitting here playing League 12 hours a day or anything like that. Because I love what I do, right? I really do. Whether it be winning games and going crazy, whether it be losing games and losing my mind, I genuinely love what I do for a living, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. The thing is, though, that it was on this Europe trip that I realized what really matters in life. So a lot of people will sit there and they'll have these like false conceptions, if you will. They'll sit there and they'll say, you know what? I think what really matters is if I can have enough money to support my family, right? You'll have some people sit there and say, no, I think what really matters is if I can visit a lot of places, right? You'll have others who will sit there and who will say, it's not about visiting places or it's not about money. It's about academics and getting really good grades, right? But that doesn't actually matter at all. And the more you achieve these things, the more you realize that it will only end up leaving you feel more empty than when you started. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Achieving goals is great. Setting a goal for yourself, being able to work towards that every single day of your life, and then being able to say, I did that, it's a feeling unlike any other. It's something that gives you drive, that gives you passion, that gives you purpose, right? But the thing is that there is a thing called balance, right? And I remember sitting there, and I remember being a 200 viewer streamer and streaming for 12 to 14 hours a day. And I remember at the time, I would always get an argument in arguments with my family members, whether it be my aunts, my parents, right? Just telling me like, why do you stream that long? You need balance in your life, you know? You need friends, you need to have hobbies, you need to go for walks, right? All these things, you need balance, you need to go out, you need to have some play with your work, right? But my problem is that I always told myself, if I want to be in the top 1%, then I have to be giving it 99%, right? I can't sit there and I can't have a 50-50 work-life balance and then expect to hit a rank that people only dream of or get to a level of content creation that people only dream of, you know? So I always sat there and I always said, no, I need to full send it. And that's why even to this day, right, I'll sit there and I'll stream for like 10 to 12 hours a day. And then I'll sit there and I'll respond to DMs for another like 4 to 6 hours. And then sleep is about maybe 7 hours, the gym's an hour, and then that's my day, you know? But it's funny because what this trip really made me realize, what matters is the things that are immaterial. Because I'll tell you something, my favorite memories from this trip wasn't playing solo queue. It was being able to go out with other streamers who I've known for years and being able to actually meet them in person, being able to form real connections, being able to form real bonds, being able to kind of view all these people on a personal level and interact with them in that way as well. And it wasn't only that, it was also like things about like homesickness too, right? Missing family, missing home, missing my dog, my surroundings, my area, the gym I go to, right? And that's when I realized that it isn't all about the grind. It isn't all about work. It isn't all about being able to observe your progression. It's about forming bonds and forming connections. I think one of my biggest realizations this time coming to Europe was that connections are important, because without connections, what is the purpose of a grind? Imagine a person who has $100 in his bank account and a person who has $1 million, right? But if the guy who has $1 million gets home every day to an empty house with an empty parking lot, going to his empty room and sitting in his big bed all alone, sure, it might feel more nice sleeping in a satin sheet or a silk sheet than it would some like wool or cotton, but is that really what makes people happy? No. I'd argue that the person with $100 in his bank account but surrounded by people who love him and surrounded by people who will like be there for him no matter what would feel infinitely times more happy than that guy, right? So that's why it's about being able to grind, but also knowing the limit that you can push it before it starts becoming a detriment. Because one of the things about me as well is that I was always a guy who would sit there and I would always like push myself to my limits. That's what I've always been doing. In every single aspect, whether it be the way I try to be on stream, whether it be my level of entertainment, myself at the gym, my physique, my mind, right? The way I view things, trying to always like understand more, apply that, and then turn myself into a better, more upgraded version of myself. The thing is that this constant like search for improvement, right? This constant desire for improvement, it doesn't really bring you much at the end of the day, you know? Like sure, it's cool when, you know, like maybe 5 years ago I'd be sad, but I'd be like 40 pounds skinnier, you know? And nowadays I can be like sad, but I can be like, hey, you know what? I might be sad, but hey, I got a bicep, you know? Like, sure, that's like nice, that's a good feeling and all, but it's not like grinding towards things is gonna make you an iron-willed kind of like person, right? Like, you're still gonna sit there, you're still gonna have like the same thoughts everyone else has, the same like feelings, the same needs, the same wants, the same urges. That's why I think one of the big things is that you need to value friendships more. You need to value familial relationships more, right? And all those things, because those are the things that are permanent. And when I say value relationships, I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend type shit, right? Because the thing is, at the end of the day, it's a nice connection to have, but most of the time, it's not going to be permanent. But that friend who's going to be there for you at 1 a.m., whether you're 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, or 40, that's permanent, you know? And that's why it's like, as much as you can sit there and you can grind towards whatever goal you're working towards, whether you want to be an astronaut, whether you want to be a league player, whether you want to be a Valorant streamer, whatever it might be, right? It's about making sure that...
Excuse me, mate.
Yep.
You're not allowed to sit there.
No? Okay.
No.
All right.
All this is food now.
All right. Sounds good. I just got told I'm not allowed sitting there. Give me a second. GG. Alright, anyways. Biggest takeaway is just that no matter what grind you're doing, no matter what you're pursuing, no matter where you're going, right? You always want to sit there and you always want to make sure that the thing you're working towards has an end goal, right? And when you reach that end goal, you need to have people that you can be there to share it with. Don't like ignore your family. Don't forsake friendships. Don't do any of these things, because I'm telling you, one day, if you do, you're going to feel alone. And that's one of the reasons why over the last year I've been working a lot on like igniting friendships that I had that I kind of like let die to grind and stuff like that. And it's a lot better this way, trust me. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I just wanted to have kind of like a little late night talk because it was like 2 a.m. and I was a bit bored. So if any of you guys find any help with this video, then that'd be great. But hope to see you guys all for the next one. Peace.